All right, folks, we're back here, and as you can see, we're in Camera Raw, and we have opened a JPEG file. So let's go through and go through some of the differences that we're going to find when we edit a JPEG file. First, let's start over here in the camera calibration, and if you remember from the RAW file editing, we did use the 2012 version, which is the current version. But if you look down here under Camera Profile, instead of seeing all the options, when you click on the down arrow, you see Embedded, and that's because it's a JPEG file. The data has already been embedded into the file, and all of the options as well as the extra pixels have been thrown away to create the JPEG file. So this is one of our limitations when it comes to editing a JPEG file. Let's go back to the basic menu here, and just to clarify here, all of the tools up top in this panel work the same. All of the sliders here work the same. However, we may have some limited range when it comes to what the tools can do. All right, having said that, let's take a look at the image, and if you notice, we are clipping a little bit of the white, the highlights, and we're clipping some of the shadows here, and you can see right over here in this corner, this is where the clipping is occurring, and the same thing right here, this is where our clipping is occurring. Now, are those vital parts of the image? Probably not. So do we care if there's no data there for the printer to print? Probably not. But while we're doing that, let's go ahead and take the blacks, and I'll hold down the Alt or the Option button, and while I click the slider, you can see where the blacks are clipping. If we move the slider to the right, this will lighten up the shadows a little bit. You can see that we're getting rid of a lot of the clipping, but we're not getting, we're not getting rid of all of it. Now, is that important? I don't think so, but it all depends on the image you're working on too. So let's go ahead and we'll just release everything, and you can see it lightened up the image, the dark areas of the image quite a bit, and probably for the better, because we're getting a little bit more detail in here around the candle holders. I don't think I'm going to change the exposure. In this image, I wanted a little bit of a darker image, and I wanted everything lit just by the candle light. And you can tell right here by the highlights around this metal that that seems to have worked out pretty well. The one thing I adjust in every type of portrait photo except portraits is the clarity. And I'm going to bring the clarity up just a little bit, and I'm going to watch how the detail comes out, the contrast in the midtones. And if you watch right here, this is where I'm noticing the biggest difference. I'll reset that, and watch right where I pointed. And you see how it comes out just a little bit and increases the contrast and improves some of the detail. I'm also going to increase the vibrance a little bit. I'll bring that up to about the same amount. And it's just me, and it seems to work for me. But I usually end up bringing the clarity and the vibrance up about the same amount, just as a starting point, and then I will adjust as needed. All right, so I like the contrast, and I like the exposure. I think the highlights are pretty good. You can see that up here on the histogram, we are blowing out some highlights in all the channels, and it's probably because of the flames and the glow around the flame. As you can see right here, there's a glow. I'm not real worried about that. If you want to mess with something like that, you can, but I don't think it's very important. I think it has a positive effect on the image right now. All right, so let's go to the detail channel, and we'll go right over here, click on detail. Now, as you notice, because it's a JPEG file, you don't get the automatic 25 sharpening that's the standard, and you don't get the noise reduction. Everything is set to 0. They're going to let you do this by yourself. What I'm going to start out doing is taking the luminance noise reduction. I usually have it somewhere around 25. And same thing with the color, I'll bring that up to about 25. Now remember what that does. That gets rid of the noise by blurring the pixels. So you've just decreased your your sharpness, your image sharpness a little bit. Let's go ahead and bring just a little bit of sharpening in. And before we go and try to set our sharpening, let's check out what's going to be sharpened by using the mask. I'm going to hold the Alt or the Option button down. I'm going to click on the masking slider. And remember, everything that's white gets sharpened, everything that's black does not. And I want to limit the sharpening to the candles, the candle holders, the metal, maybe the sand. Everything that's really dark in the image, I don't want to sharpen because that's going to increase more noise. So now I have it right about here at 67, and you can see what's being sharpened. The candle holders, the metal, and a little bit of the sand. And I think that's about what I want sharpened. Now if you want to be more specific, just keep moving it and you can see how less and less gets sharpened. But I want to include a little bit. In fact, you know what? I think I may just leave it right. What do I like? I'm looking at the metal railings right now, and I think I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and release the buttons, and then let's go ahead and bring the sharpening amount up. Watch what you're sharpening here and get to a point where you like it. You probably won't sharpen a JPEG as much as you sharpen a RAW file, because remember, JPEGs are sharpened a little bit already. And I think I like right about there. Now if you really want to get detailed about it, zoom to 100%. All right, this is one of the metal railings, and you see these little dots here? That's the noise. So we have a couple of things we can do. We can increase the noise reduction, bring it up to about 30 there, bring this up a little bit here. That smoothed it out a little bit, and we can change the sharpening a little bit. We can bring it up. Watch what happens. You may not be able to see this. You may be able to see it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to about 60%. I'm going to bring this back down to about 25, and I'm going to do the same here. Right about there. And now remember, we're at 100%, and very rarely will you ever view an image at 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and click Fit in View again. Wait for it. There it is. And I think that looks pretty good. When I focused, I actually focused right about here. So this is the sharpest part of the image. You can see the blur goes off here, and the blur is in the front. So what I'm looking at when I sharpen is right in this area here, because this is what I want sharpened in the first place. All right, so that's pretty much it when it comes to working on a JPEG image in Camera Raw. Again, down here at the bottom you see the buttons. These are the normal buttons, and if you hold down the Alt or the Option key, you can see they change the same way as they did when you were editing a RAW file. So you still have the same options available. Okay, so that's what we have as far as editing a JPEG image in Camera Raw. Here again, 95% of what you want to do is done, and it does a very nice job. Talk to you again.